Dear Rotarians, dear friends, it's wonderful to be with you, and I want to thank you for all the work that you do and will continue to do for our country here, for the global community, and at this time of crisis for the brave, embattled people of Ukraine. I have great respect for Rotary International. In fact, one of my best friends, John Hugo, is the CEO and General Secretary of Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation based in Evanston. Maybe some of you know him. Ukraine today is at the center of the world's attention, and I think and feel that it is at the center of Rotary's heart. There is a special way in which what is happening in Ukraine, the people of Ukraine, how they have riveted the world's attention to some fundamental issues. And today, Ukraine is a fulcrum at which the balance of questions, the configuration of issues in the world is being changed. Let's begin with the reasons for this war and what can be done to help. You are helping, and I thank you for your assistance. And whenever I talk with people from Ukraine, and that's daily, the people are saying, extend our gratitude to Ukraine. Literally minutes ago, I was speaking to a commencement event at the Ukrainian Catholic University, and they said, the students said, thank the people of America. Thank Americans for the help they're giving. So we can help, we can stay informed, and we can pray. The second thing that everybody can do, besides the humanitarian and other help, is to be informed. And we'll speak about that in a little more depth. And the third thing is to pray. Much has happened on the moral front. The Soviet Union, armed to its teeth in nuclear weapons, fell apart not because of power, not because of money, but because of moral argument, spiritual movements of the heart. And those spiritual movements are at work today. Let me focus on the second point of action, information and advocacy. It's really important to understand what is happening in Ukraine and why. Many people think that, the war broke out February 24th, when in fact it's been an 8-year war, beginning with the annexation of Crimea and the invasion of the Donbass in the spring of 2014. Why did Russia invade then, 8 years ago? And why did it escalate the war on February 24th? Well, President Putin has been very clear. He expressed on Monday, February 21st, his real vision of Russia, of Ukraine, and of the world. In fact, he's been expressing it for a very long time. The most important reason why Ukraine is invaded is because it is a democracy. It is a fledgling democracy that in 30 years has elected 6 presidents. It has free elections, internationally certified, verified. It has a free press. It has freedom of religion. It's a diverse country. It is the country of Ukraine, but the members of this political country are very diverse. Some of the most staunch patriots of Ukraine are the Crimean Tatars, Muslims, who were deported by Stalin from the peninsula of Crimea in 1944 in an ethnic cleansing exercise and were received back. And in Ukraine could freely develop their culture, their traditions. Ukraine has a Jewish president elected by 73% of the voters. Ukraine has different religious confessions, all of which are free, none of which are state-sponsored, and most of which belong to the All-Ukrainian Council of Churches and Religious Organizations. 95% of the people of faith are represented in this council, which for 25 years has been working together, not focusing on dogmatic issues and the teachings of faith, but on social doctrine, political liberty, social responsibility. It really is an interesting country. This religious cooperation, this council, has no parallel anywhere else. Ukraine had a virus, worse than COVID from the point of view of oligarchic Russia. It has democracy. And so Putin took a decision to protect his kleptocracy, to protect the autocracy, which is becoming quite totalitarian, to protect it by killing the germ of democracy in Ukraine, trying to crush it, trying to bleed it. He thought that Ukraine's turn to Europe, which was assuredly going to strengthen the democracy of the country, should be stopped by annexing Crimea and invading the Donbass. And he was sure that this would lead to the collapse of the country. But when it did not, after 8 years, he amassed the troops at a time of internal political strife in Ukraine. At that point, he thought that tension and pressure might lead to collapse or at least compromise. When that did not happen, he decided to invade. The war was supposed to be over in 3, maybe 7 days. Not only did Putin believe that, but American leadership, European leadership thought that that would be the case. We are now over 3 months into this war. And the Ukrainian people, their democracy, their spirit, their commitment to justice, the rule of law, is manifest for the world. The second reason why Putin is invading is because of the identity of empire. He, in a plurality of Russians, believe that Russia needs to be big. And it's not enough to have 11 time zones. It's not enough to be 28 times as big as Ukraine. That 29th part needs to be eaten up. You know, in the Bible, the primordial, prototypical sin is the grab. God, the giver, gives Adam everything and says, just don't eat from this tree because you will die. And what does Adam do? He has everything, but he grabs for something else. And he becomes mortal. Basically, all of our sin and struggle and suffering is connected with this motion, this desire, me. It's hard for us to live in a divine way, to be real givers. And that's why every gesture of giving that Rotary does is so uplifting, so inspiring, and so true. So Putin leads the Russian people in fostering an identity of empire, of colonies. An empire, actually, by definition, has colonies. It needs to have those it occupies. Ukrainians today are telling the slave owner, it's over. You cannot own us anymore. We will not be your slaves. We will live in a self-determining way. We have God-given dignity, which you can't take away. NATO is not a reason. We've heard how Putin has said that Finland's and Sweden's entry into NATO really isn't a problem. So the expansion of NATO is not a problem. And unfortunately, many pundits and world-respected experts are simply wrong on this issue. Henry Kissinger, John Matlock, the former Moscow ambassador from the United States, Angela Merkel, Sarkozy, the president of France, who blocked Ukraine's entry into NATO in 2008. If Ukraine had been part of NATO in 2008, we would not have this war. As Finland and Sweden will not have a Russian invasion if they become part of NATO. So it is democracy and desire for empire that is the reason why Ukrainians are being punished. More than 12 million who've been rendered homeless. Tens of thousands who have been killed. Over $600 billion worth of economic damage. But every time I call Ukraine, and it's once or twice a day, I'm inspired by the voices on the other side. People are pretty calm. They may have returned from a funeral of a friend, because by now everybody has friends who have been killed. But they say we have no choice other to defend our dignity, our liberty, our sovereignty, and our territorial integrity. And they are grateful to Americans who've come around. It took some time. Maybe it's true that Ukrainians had to prove that they will not abandon their freedom. Maybe in the wake of what happened in Afghanistan, Americans were right in being skeptical. But today, there is no doubt. And you know very well that Putin will not stop at the borders of Ukraine. He will try to conquer first the other former Soviet republics, because he said that the fall of the Soviet Union is the greatest geopolitical tragedy of the 20th century. He's declared he wants to reverse that. And then he will continue. The Poles know it well. The Slovaks, the Czechs, the Romanians. And that's why they've been so hospitable. So I thank you for your openness, the openness of your heart for the people of Ukraine that are fighting for your and my dignity and freedom. It will cost a lot less if the Ukrainians take care of this situation. They're paying the dearest price for global stability, for democracy, and for freedom. I thank you for helping them. I thank you for welcoming displaced persons. I encourage you to look at the website welcome.us, where tens of organizations are coming together to sponsor Ukrainian displaced persons in the humanitarian parole that the United States has announced for 100,000 prospective displaced persons. John Hugo, the head of Rotary International, is a proud participant in this program representing Rotary. And it would be wonderful if Rotarians became sponsors of some of these people that have had to leave their homes temporarily before they can come back. People in Ukraine speak confidently. They are sure that the truth will prevail, that God's justice will win, and that democracy will continue its development in Ukraine. Ukrainians are showing that there are things worth living for and even worth dying for. That is the spirit of America. That is the spirit of Rotary. Generosity, courage, strength, creativity, and the readiness to give and protect life. God bless you all, and thank you again in the name of all of those people in Ukraine who are so grateful to Americans.